Next, let's look at some hyaline cartilage, which along with bones is one of our supportive connective tissue. Now this is our cartilage right here, and you'll see we have other tissues in this slide. For example, here we can see some adipose tissue. Here we can see some actual skeletal muscle. If we were to zoom in on it, we would see the striations in it. But what I want to focus on is this bit right here. And this is our hyaline cartilage, which we see in the trachea and we see in the ends of bones. We see it in the costal cartilages. We see it in a variety of places in the human body. So now I'm going to zoom in on it and go to our low power objective. And one of the first things we see is we're not even on hyaline cartilage anymore. This actually is skeletal muscle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move our slide to where we have the cartilage in view. So what we'll see is we see these little, they look kind of like bubbles, and inside the bubbles are these cells. The cells are what we call chondrocytes, and they maintain the surrounding matrix. And all this pink stuff surrounding it is the matrix. And that is, remember, the ground substance and all the proteins in it. It's got a lot of collagen and other things in here. So we've got this densely packed matrix, which basically, as we've said, are the proteins and the ground substance. And within them we have these little, what we call lacunae. And each one is a lacuna. And each lacuna is a space within the matrix in which a cell can live. So it's an empty space. It's a hollow, empty space in which we find a cell. So let's zoom in a little bit closer still. So now we're going to move it up to our high power objective, and now you can see it very nicely. You can see this is a lacuna, this bubble looking thing, and that is a chondrocyte. So here's a lacuna and a chondrocyte, and all the stuff surrounding it is the matrix. And depending on where we get this cartilage, it can look slightly different from one slide to the other. If we move it around, we can see indeed we have other tissues in the slide. For example, there's our adipose tissue. Here we can see some human skeletal muscle. And while this isn't stained like we've seen in other slides, we can still see the striations in them very clearly, so we can identify it as human skeletal muscle. Now here I've got another example. You can see the cartilage here. Sometimes it looks like this pink strip or purple strip, and sometimes it looks like bacon. It reminds me of bacon in the zoomed out view or the view with the scanning objective. Of course, you can see clearly the adipose tissue on either side. Let's go to our low power objective here. Now we can see this one has a slightly different stain. The matrix has sort of a purple appearance in it. But when we look closely at it, we can see the lacunae with their chondrocytes inside. And depending on the cartilage and where it comes from, it might look slightly different. It might stain slightly more purple. Sometimes it's slightly more pink. Sometimes it'll be in this kind of a strip. In other cases, it'll have a broader swath. But in any case, you're going to see something that looks very much like this. And it's pretty much instantly recognizable. And even when we zoom in on it in the high power view, we'll be able to see that the cartilage very distinctly has these chondrocytes within their lacunae. So here's a lacuna, there's a chondrocyte, lacuna. That chondrocyte's kind of hard to see, but you can see the chondrocyte within the lacuna, and the lacuna literally means chamber, and it is the empty space around the chondrocyte where the chondrocyte lives. And of course, all this pink stuff surrounding it is the matrix, which is what gives the cartilage its rigidity.